The biggest thing that people I see, especially with newer entrepreneurs, as they're getting into the business, is that
Yeah.
they don't systemize anything. They do it and then they recreate it. They do it again. They don't write anything down. They
Yeah.
don't document it. And if it's not documented, how
Mhm.
can it be improved?
Yeah. So, but the new wholesaler is going to say probably what I would have said is, "Man, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. How can I write it down and document
Yeah,
it? Where do I even start with that kind of stuff?"
that's totally fine. Let's go Grant Cardone really quick, like massive and perfect action. Just do 10
Right.
times. Just go out and do it the first time. However, I think I don't think I know that when you want to scale your business and you want to automate this, if you want to delegate this to other people,
Mhm.
set them up for success, you have to put them in a box. And what I mean by that is giving them a structure. Here's the SOP to follow. Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. Here's why we do it this way.
Yeah.
And if there's no SOP, there's no system, there's no
Mhm.
structure. Therefore, you are literally setting them up for failure from the get go.
Right. One of the things that we say in our company is simple is scalable. So we try not to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
So the way that I started with this, and first off, I went years and years and years with no system, and that was one of the things that we definitely implemented and allowed us to scale our company up.
Yeah.
But literally, like you're saying, we every time we did it, we did it a little bit different. I remember one time I had these three girls who were doing dispo for me, and I talked to them. And one morning, I'm like, "Hey, Cassandra, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm doing this, this, and this." And "Hey, Rachel, what are you doing?" I'm doing that, this, and the other thing. And the third girl, Taylor, she was doing it. And I'm like, "Girls, we're supposed to be doing 10 things and you're doing six, and you're all doing six different things. No wonder we're
Yes.
not getting any traction and going out
Yes.
there and doing it." So yeah, I 100% agree. Just start writing something down, right? Say, whatever the first two or three steps are, and then you follow that. And then the more you do it, maybe you just kind of fill in and make it a little more detailed. Is that what you suggest?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people struggle, frankly, with discipline
Yeah.
and not doing it because it's boring, right? Picking up the phone, doing the
Mhm.
same thing, going through the same script, talking. It gets a little bit boring, and so people want to have
Mhm.
variety in their life and switch it up. And this is actually a really bad thing because it leads
Yeah.
to inconsistent inputs. And
Mhm.
so, if you were to think about, just think about four corners of the United States: Seattle, Washington, San Diego, California, Washington D.C., and some Miami, Florida. You
Right.
walk into a McDonald's. I call this the Mickey D's method. If you walk into
Yes.
McDonald's and you order what is that thing called? A freaking Big Mac, right? It's gonna come out looking the same, smelling the same, and tasting the same. Well, why is that? Because it's the same ingredients and
Mhm.
it's the same process. So
Yeah.
consistency in our inputs results in consistency in our outputs. We can expect
Mhm.
to have a duplicatable result
Mhm.
or outcome because of this. And too often people are not disciplined
Yeah.
in their inputs. They're not picking, their speed to lead is super slow. They're not calling consistently. They're not calling their leads every single day
Yeah.
until they can get them on a triage call. And so it's because they don't have a system that they're following. They're kind of just winging it.
It's interesting. One of my mentors and good friends, she said the same thing. Like, getting rich is not exciting or sexy. It's literally doing the same thing just over and over and
Yeah.
over again, and developing that system. But I love that you talk about McDonald's. If you guys have not seen this, the greatest movie out there for like entrepreneurs is The Founder with Michael Keaton, where
Yeah.
he plays Ray Kroc, the guy who started McDonald's. He definitely took McDonald's and expanded it, right? Like,
Yeah.
there, you could love the guy or hate
He
the
gets the
guy, but
credit.
he does get the credit. But one of the fantastic things in the movie is where they go into like this gymnasium, and they literally like tape out the kitchen of a McDonald's,
Yeah.
and they try to simplify and shorten all the movements so that literally you could bring in a 16-year-old
Yeah.
and teach them how to run that business. And 16 to 20-year-olds run McDonald's, which is a bazillion dollar, $1 trillion business,
Yep.
whatever they're doing. Um, and they can do that because they have a simple and scalable system, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you even bring McDonald's up, because that is one of my favorite movies in
Well,
the whole.
it's because I watched that video and the whole
Yeah.
thing when he was writing, what he I'm pretty sure it was either tape or chalk when
Yeah, one of
in
those,
the
right?
actual story, right? And he was originally it was like you're running into each other, you have to go across the
Yes.
floor, like this is
Yeah.
retarded. You need to create efficiencies in your business so that you can collapse time and
Mhm.
get a little bit more traction. And that really made a mark on me. And then
Yeah.
a year or two later, I read the book Principles by Ray Dalio. It's
Mm.
a huge book. It's
Oh,
very
yeah.
dry read. It's about the size of a freaking dictionary, but it's amazing. And really, what he breaks it down to is you need to simplify your life
Mhm.
all the way down to your principles. Not here's what to do, but here's why I do it. And if you can get down to your
Love
core principles, then when you're faced with a new thing that you've never, it's a new challenge, it's a new problem, it's a new hurdle, it's a new obstacle that you've never faced before. You don't know what to do because you've never been there. That's okay, because we can go back to our principles
that. Mhm.
and make a decision based off of this principle. And that also creates efficiencies and systems within our.
Right. So would that be like your core values?
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be, but let's bring it into a really direct and applicable use of that. It's like
Mhm.
in our triage call,
Yeah.
our first call with the seller, we're always going to ask this one question. Well, the reason why we're asking this question, again, coming from the Marine Corps, it's not exactly what to do. I'm never going to tell another Marine what to do. It's
Mhm.
his own leadership that he needs to display, his own initiative in order
Yeah.
to accomplish the mission. I don't care how he does it. I just give him the commander's intent. I give him the intent. At the end of the day, I don't care how you, as long as we're following all ethical and legal moral boundaries, I don't care how you get to said result.
Mhm.
I care that this result is achieved, and here is why.
Mhm.
So is there a mortgage that we'll need to take care of when we buy the house? Or is it free and clear? You can get all sorts of resistance when asking a seller that question.
Mhm.
That's personal information, what the hell is it to you, whatever. And it's like you have to overcome those objections. Why? Because it matters when we're trying to create structure creative financing. I have to
Right.
know about how much is on the mortgage balance. I have to know about how much you're going to be walking away at the closing table, so that I can now come into our second conversation and have this. And so yes, core values is important, but the practical application can be really applied across everything that we do
Yeah.
in our business. Every sentence, every script, every way that we analyze a deal, same
Mhm.
exact thing.
I think that's amazing. And again, kind of going back to the founder and McDonald's and the 16-year-olds, we as the owner and the entrepreneur, we maybe, I don't want to say think at a higher level, but we definitely are looking at more things and can
Yeah.
judge things a lot more rapidly. But if I want to bring in people, if I want to bring in that 16-year-old, right, I want to bring in that person from the outside to operate within my business. I think it's incredibly important that we do have SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures that we can say, hey, little Bobby, this is your job. This is how you go through it, right? But
Yeah.
it's also important to monitor that and say, is what I wrote, does it work? Like that's a
Yes.
living, breathing document, right? It's not like we write it one time and it's good for the rest of our
No,
lives.
you refine it every time.
Sure, right? We have to look at it and say, hey, is this working? Is it understandable, right? Can the person who's coming in, can they execute it? And then is it getting me the results I want? And if not, I can go back and start to tweak that. So